Hi, everyone, and welcome into the Ladies' Lunch Break. I am your host, Crystal Fry, a woman's best friend. Our topic for today on the Ladies' Lunch Break, we're going to check in on your gratitude practice, right? Here's our topic for today. How's your gratitude practice going? And so I want to talk about this today because I started 2020, my very first Facebook Live, Friday Night Live of 2020 was about gratitude. I thought, how appropriate would that be just to go ahead and kick off our brand new year talking about gratitude? Couldn't think of a better way to start the year. And so as we are now, we're just under halfway through 2020. And I think, especially in light of everything that we have going on, I think it's time for us to take a little check and see how your gratitude practice is going. It's very easy for us to get bogged down. It's very easy for us to get stifled in what we're seeing around us. If we are not paying good attention and we are not keeping good focus on being intentional about the things that we're grateful for, being very intentional about that practice of gratitude and how that looks for you individually. That is something, your gratitude practice is something that is very individualized, depending on what works best for you. There is no one magic pill, one answer. For some people, they like to write their affirmations. That is me. I write my affirmations every day because that is what works for me. When I write things down, they tend to have more meaning. They tend to stick with me better than if I just say them out loud. Now, that's not to say that that you shouldn't say them out loud, because again, it's all in what works for you. But when you're writing things and when you're speaking them, there are some important things that happen there, just from a biological standpoint, if you will, from a psychological standpoint. When you're physically writing something, because your brain is having to not only put the thought together, but also to tell your hand, how to write the letters, form the letters and the words, it makes a deeper impression with what you're writing down, which is why I don't know if anyone can relate to this when you say, oh, okay, I just need to run to the store and get this, this, and this, right? You tick them off, 1, 2, 3. And then you get to the store and you can only remember 2 of the things because you didn't write it down, because it didn't stick with you. It might have been there temporarily, in the, oh, okay, I got to do that. But if you didn't do anything to make it at least semi-permanent in your thoughts, it goes away. Okay. And sometimes we can get it back. And sometimes in my case, which is usually what happens, I can't. I just forget about it until I get home. And then I remember what it was. I don't know how that works. But so that's about writing, adding writing as part of your gratitude practice. But also when you say the words out loud. When you say the words out loud, you are hearing your own voice saying those words to you. And so, one, your brain is having to be activated to think the thought, but then to also say the words and then hearing them as well. So not, taking into not just saying it out loud, not just thinking it. And I think that's really the point here, is to get it out of your mind into another form so that it actually gets back into your mind. You're reinforcing the words that you are saying, that you are writing, that you are thinking. You're reinforcing that practice. So I want to know how your practice is going. And for everyone who's joining us live, and for those of you who are watching in the replay, go ahead and drop down in the comments, what are you doing to maintain your gratitude practice right now? Did you fall off? Is this a mid-year reminder to get back on track with your gratitude practice and what that looks like for you, and making sure that you are intentionally taking the time to be grateful for things? And ladies and gentlemen, my friends, this is not just the big things, okay? Not just the big things of, oh, I woke up today. That's a big thing. There are a lot of people in the world who didn't. So waking up in the morning is a big thing to be grateful for. There are just so many. My brain right now is actually like overflowing with the 9 billion things that exist to be grateful for. And that is part of why I wanted to come in and do this gratitude practice check-in with you today, is because it's so easy for us to get overwhelmed, and it's easy for us to be consumed with negative things that are happening, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your professional life, whether it is on a community or a global scale. It's so easy for us to get distracted and get focused and get overwhelmed and become consumed by all of the negative things that are out there if we are not intentionally making time to practice gratitude. And I encourage you to practice it so much that it's a positive stream that is the overwhelming thread throughout your thoughts. That when you see a situation or when you are faced with something, that your immediate thought is to the positive, not to the negative. And that's kind of how you can judge where you are in your overall thinking, in your overall process, on whether or not you're leaning more towards the positive or whether you're leaning more towards the negative. And listen, it is a practice, just as so many other things are. Listen, meditation is a practice. Who sat down the first time to meditate and sat there for 30 seconds and thought you'd been there for an hour? It's not something that you're accustomed to. It's something that you have to work yourself into. This is the same thing with gratitude. It is a practice. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you don't practice it, it is just like anything else. It tends to slip away. And then you have to bring it back in. And I can attest to that in my own personal life as well, through my own gratitude practice. I've been in a place where I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I think I'm pretty good. And then I'll be a little distracted with something and, I'll do that later. I'll write my affirmations later and let myself fall a little bit out of the habit. And I can immediately see a difference. I can see a difference in the way I'm thinking. And listen, it has taken me a while to get to the point where I am very, very aware of my thoughts, very much aware of the thoughts as they come up. That is also something that you work on, and something that you have to practice, is that awareness of what your thoughts are and where they're coming from. And so I immediately know when I am falling out of practice or when it is actually impacting me by my thoughts. Because generally speaking, no matter what's going on, even if I can't immediately see the positive, I look for it. And that's something that has come from my gratitude practice. It didn't happen overnight. It's happened over the course of the time that I have been engaging in my gratitude practice, and understanding that while, yes, the world is full of things that can make us nervous, that can make us anxious, that can make us fearful, that can make us upset, that can tear us down. But the world is also full of things that are beautiful, and things that lift our spirits up, and things that give us hope, and things that make us see the goodness of humanity, not the badness, not the bad side. So as we're checking in on your gratitude practice and seeing where you are with it, I'll ask you a couple of different questions. Like, 1, are you still doing it? 2, did you put in place? Are you still doing the same thing? Because that's something else to remember. Just because you start off writing your affirmations down, maybe that's not the best way for you to do it. Maybe it works better if you do it a different way. Maybe your meditation is part of your gratitude practice, being able to sit and be reflective and think about the things that you're grateful for. Setting reminders on your phone to go out and find 5 things to be grateful for today. That's a fun thing to do, honestly. Because your brain starts to look for things. You start to look for the things to be grateful for. And like I said earlier, not just the big things. Like, I woke up today. That's a big thing to be grateful for. A lot of people didn't. I'm talking about getting yourself to a place in your gratitude practice where you are acknowledging and expressing gratitude for the little things. For instance, I'm from the South. I grew up here. My mother had a garden when I was growing up. She always grew tomatoes. We always had, in the summertime, we always had a table full of tomatoes and cucumbers and all kinds of vegetables that she grew in her garden. Listen, there is nothing better, in my opinion, nothing better in the summer on a hot day than a tomato sandwich. Okay? That's just my opinion. That's how I grew up. My kids don't share that, so I feel I've done them a disservice, but to each their own. But even that, okay, before I came on the broadcast, I ate my lunch first, so I didn't try to eat it while I was here with you guys. But that's what I had today, was a tomato sandwich. And I just remember, just a short time ago thinking, man, this is awesome. This is great. Being able to be present enough to focus on the fact that this is really good. And it's something that I can be grateful for, that it was available. When I went to the grocery store to buy a tomato, right? That I had the things in my house to, make that sandwich. It's not hard, but, still. It's little things that we all take for granted every day because, well, they just are, right? They've just become a part of our surrounding. They've become a part of our being. They've become a part of our life. And that, unfortunately, oftentimes leads us to take them for granted. So part of your gratitude practice, whether this was a reminder to get back in step, or whether you've been doing it all along since we started back in January, I want to remind you to make sure you're getting down to the place where you are really looking at and acknowledging and really being grateful for those little things. For the parking spot that opened up while you were pulling up to it. For someone who paid for your coffee this morning. For, any number of things. For being able to find that thing that your kid wanted. When you thought it was going to be sold out everywhere, being able to find that thing, being able to pick the flower that your mom likes, being able to tell your spouse, being able to leave a note for your spouse, any of these small little things that we simply take for granted. The smell of your coffee in the morning, that's another really big one for me. There's so many things around us that we can be grateful for, and that can change and shift our mindset if we'll allow it, if we'll put it into practice. And I'm not saying that takes away all the negative in the world, but it certainly does help to balance it, and it puts you in a different light to have a different perspective. So that is what I will wrap up with today. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me for the ladies' lunch break. I hope that you all have had a good week so far and looking forward to, an awesome back half of the week. Make sure that you are indeed putting your gratitude practice into practice daily. It's a daily practice. Don't forget that. And if you need any help or tips or any ideas on how to get you going again or how to get you started, feel free to leave me a comment. Feel free to send me a message, and I'll be happy to drop a couple of tips for you and get you on your way. So I hope you have a great rest of your day today. And until next time, I am Crystal Fry, a woman's best friend, teaching women to see themselves, love themselves, and transform into themselves, into the women they were created to be. See you next time.